everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. Seems like I took a week off. Really don't know what much to say. Honestly, even in this one, it seems like there's a mental block. But I do have a call-in from BJ Boyd of the Arcane Alienist, and it is on the topic of the Metal Minute, which was Metallica. And I guess I will speak to that. I don't know, I might, if I feel like it, as this goes on, do a reading from the Book of Aput from our Hyperborea campaign. And maybe that'll be it. Talk a little bit about the progress of the games that I've been running and the not-so-progress. It seems this week there were a lot of games that didn't make. But, hey, now it's the weekend, so we'll see. All right. Well, first the call from BJ, and on with the show.
Hey, Carl, it's BJ. Just listening to your last Metal Minute where you're talking about Metallica, and you kind of mentioned their song Call of Cthulhu, which I think probably we as sort of gamers and fans of science fiction, fantasy, or probably need to appreciate how many people were made aware of H.P. Lovecraft and his writings because of that song, because it's referenced in a Metallica song, and then now you've got all these sort of metalheads going, oh wait, that's a short story from this, I think for us in sort of the game sphere, we sort of think of H.P. Lovecraft as just being ubiquitous. He's kind of always been there. His writing sort of founded laid a lot of the foundations that our hobby is built on. So, all of us would have discovered Lovecraft sooner or later just through gaming. But I think that to appreciate how many people were brought into that literature by a Metallica song, I think is also pretty cool. In fact, I actually heard or became aware of Lovecraft because of that song long before I became aware of him through role-playing games. So, my cousin was like, hey, have you heard this Metallica album? No. And he's like, yeah, this song is about Call of Cthulhu, which is, and he's telling me about Lovecraft. I'm like, oh, cool. So, yeah, I think there's probably long been an association between heavy metal and role-playing games otherwise, but it's just kind of an interesting thing to reflect on. Anyway, I'll talk to you later.
Hey, BJ, thanks for that message. Pretty cool stuff. Actually, I did a little search on it's on the Google, not a big search, right? But interestingly, Metallica has a few songs that are influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, or the works of H.P. Lovecraft. And it kind of stemmed from the late bassist Cliff Burton, who was described as an H.P. Lovecraft reading, piano playing homebody who loved beer, Mexican food, pot, and acid. So it's pretty interesting. Actually, he and Burton bonded, Kirk Hammett and Burton bonded over mutual interest in the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. There's a reference somewhere there. And not just, so the instrumental, The Call of Cthulhu, is inspired by the short story, The Call of Cthulhu, and also The Shadow over Innsmouth, which is kind of interesting. And then in Master of Puppets, 1986, they have a song called The Thing That Should Not Be, and James Hetfield wrote the lyrics that contains several mythos references, right? If you recall from your At the Mountain of Madness readings, that the Shoggoth is described as the utter objective embodiment of the thing that should not be. Great old ones that refer to things beneath the sea, timelessly been upset, right? So refers to the couplet from Abdul Alhazared's The Nameless City, and also Call of Cthulhu. And then Hybrid Children Watch the Sea, etc., and The Crawling Chaos near Larthutup. So it's pretty interesting. So there's another song years later in 2008, All Nightmare Long, from the album Death Magnetic, that has another inspiration from the Cthulhu mythos that James Hetfield explains. And it was about All Nightmare Long is referencing the Hounds of Tyndalos, which they hunt through their nightmares in the weird corners, right, of things. So it's kind of interesting because we hunt you down without mercy, hunt you down all night long. Feel us breathe your face, feel us shift every move we trace, which is kind of interesting. And then in 2017, Dream No More, like the things not that should not, like the thing that should not be, from back in '86's Master of Puppets. He sleeps under black seas waiting, lies dreaming in death. He sleeps under cosmos shaking, stars granting his breath. So interesting. So there you go. Metallica, or members of Metallica, have long been fans of Call of Cthulhu. It would have been fun to be, or to see, or to learn about. I don't know if I would ever get the chance. Maybe I would ask. Maybe it might bring back fond memories, or not sad memories, since Cliff Burton has passed away. But it'd be interesting to know what they play. What did Kirk Hammett and Cliff Burton play? Did other members of Metallica play Call of Cthulhu? Call of Cthulhu. Now I'm pronouncing it without the TH. Anyway, so thanks, BJ, for that call. It's a pretty interesting little dive down into Wikiverse. Not, fantastic research scholarship. So, I guess I did pass my library research use role. I guess it'd be computer role nowadays. But anyway, pretty cool stuff. So, yeah, I really think it'd be fun. I do have two Cthulhu games going on right now. You can check those out on the YouTube. We did the character creation way back. We finally started Corsairs of Cthulhu, which is a Cthulhu tale by New Comic Games that is set in the golden age of piracy. New Comic Games. The author is Ben Burns. He's a really cool guy. We actually played another Ben Burns tale, the ghost, the haunting of the ghost of El Dorado, Hotel El Dorado, something like that. That he does more of it. It's a modern Call of Cthulhu, and he just finished a Kickstarter where he has the same group of pre-generated characters now visiting on their vacation, visiting Japan, which is a pretty cool. I got to play it at a convention, so yeah, it's pretty neat stuff that Ben Burns puts out, and he's a regular at quite a few conventions here in Texas. Chupacabra Con, Long Con, and North Texas RPG Con. So, right. So, it just, if you ever want to meet him. So, the other game in Cthulhu realm, Yogg Sothory, that some people call it. So, where I'm running Masks of Nyarlathotep, we had a character creation session, and we put our first episode up I think this week. But two things that are different about this Masks of Nyarlathotep, hopefully campaign and others, is that I've set it in Rome, in the Roman period, 2nd century, and I'm using Cohor's Cthulhu, which is a new 2D20 game by Modifius, which I really enjoyed. I've run it a few times at conventions, most notably at a BSRCon, where I ran this adventure called The Last Eagle, which is really fun. The characters, the player characters, totally went off the rails, but it was really very satisfying battle and ending to it with the duo, a duo that I've played in games before from the pre-gens that they have from the Call of Cthulhu Quick Start, which I had the privilege, along with Arlen Walker and my wife Amy and Darren Green, to do the play test, and we got a little bit of credit in the Quick Start, which is kind of neat. So yeah, I really do like Cohor's Cthulhu. I like the Roman period. I did run sort of the folly of Varus's Folly, which sort of detailed. Is that what I called it? I think I have it in my notes somewhere. Yeah, I had called it Varus's Folly, which was like a part 1, and then there's a part 2, which was sort of a generation, or many years later called In Search of the Last Eagle, or The Last Eagle, which took place, the events, the first one, Varys' Folly, in the Toteberg Forest, and then again in that area of Germania many years later, where the survivors of the Toteberg Forest massacre, or some survivors of the Toteberg Forest massacre, went back and found one of the lost eagles that were taken by the Germanic tribes under Arrhenius. I think that's who did that. Anyway, pretty cool stuff that I've done in the past in the Roman period. I also ran like a one-shot, because I actually played this one-shot at a Friends of Jackson Elias, and as this one-shot in it's like a Tales of the Yellow or something like that. It's a really neat, like, 3-part compilation of adventures where they kind of reference or talk about the King in Yellow. And I played one where it was kind of a Roman holiday, and things went kind of crazy. A lot of bloodletting and ritual stopping, and I think the characters had fun with that one. So yeah, I've done quite a bit of Cthulhu, and I've tried to run Mass before, and I definitely want to get a buddy on at some point who has written some Cthulhu type adventures in that genre, and it'd be fun to talk to him about it and what he thinks, pick his brain, as it were. But I like reading through Mass. Like I said, I tried to run it before, and we ran the New York section, the American section, and then got to England, but then it kind of fizzled. I didn't just run straight through Mass. I ran some other adventures in New York too. And then when we got to England, it just kind of, the group fell apart. Well, so hopefully this one, well, instead of Peru, which is a prologue in the new Mask of MetalliThulhu, I've set the first adventure in Germania, and we'll see how that one goes. So, and then we played some fun sort of 1930s, but sort of the classic era of Cthulhu, 1920s and 30s, with some pulp stuff with the incomparable Andy Holmes, orphan now private investigator. And I run that as a duel with Amy, and we threw in a couple people, some of the regulars you see on YouTube, to play Secrets of Marseille, which is a fun. It's like comes in I think it's like 5th edition Call of Cthulhu, maybe. I don't remember the exact edition, but it comes in it's a 2-adventure little anthology with Kings of Chicago and Secrets of Marseille. So that's been pretty fun. I ran that secret. I think, an adventure from this sort of adventure that's purposefully made as a dual game that had recently come out. And then I ran Secrets, and then I ran like a holiday game, which was kind of fun. So yeah, I think it's pretty neat. There are other games, and then there's another fun one that I ran like a face-to-face time. I think it was a Time to Harvest, which was a really nice tale, and I ran that face-to-face a few years ago, which was pretty fun. We ran it to completion, which was a very an unexpected conclusion to that tale. So that was kind of neat. And then Cthulhu Adventures in between. And anyway, I probably might save some of these tales for another episode. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Call of Cthulhu, and that is pretty cool that there is a mix with the metal music I like and the Cthulhu mythos. I'm sure there are other bands who have referenced the Call of Cthulhu or Yog-Sothoth or the other mythos stuff in their works, but maybe that's a tale for another Metal Minute. So in any case, I think let's switch gears again, so we'll stop talking about Cthulhu or my memories, sort of my memories jarred, inspired by BJ's post, and talk about another Metal Minute. Today on the Metal Minute, I want to talk to you about the band that, in my mind, controversially, I will tell you, or, well, maybe you don't agree, but too bad. This is my Metal Minute. Do your own. This band, I would say, saved metal during a time in the late 80s and early 90s where the grunge scene was kind of coming along. And this band is Pantera. The Pantera we know, or the Pantera from the 1989 through to the tragic death of Diamond Daryl, was, well, four of them: Dimebag, Diamond Daryl, Phil Anselmo, singer, Vinnie Paul, drummer, and Dimebag's brother, and Rex Brown, the bassist. And what's funny is that Pantera formed in the 80s and was kind of a glam metal band. It kind of came out of Arlington, Texas. Underground favorite in the Southwest area. And they kind of supported fellow acts like Striper, Dokken, Quiet Riot. Honestly, I have not heard any of their stuff, but maybe, hold on, let's pause here and I will go check some of that out. Okay, well, it sounds a lot like Dokken of that era, truth be told, maybe some Striper. The vocals are by Terrence Lee, who went on to sing with Lord Tracy, did like 5 albums with them, and he was on the albums Projects in the Jungle, I Am the Night, and Metal Magic, the first one. And after that, there was I don't know what happened. So they began searching for a replacement, as the Glaze's glam approach didn't really fit the band, and they kind of parted ways. And then they searched around. There was this chance that Dimebag Daryl was going to join Megadeth, but he wanted to bring Vinny with him. But then they found the gravelly Phil Anselmo, and I think that changed their fortunes. Their first kind of, what I learned about Pantera was through their album Cowboys from Hell. As a side note, in a gaming angle, is that when we played Twilight 2000 back in that era, in the late 80s, early 90s, that was the name of the mercenary group. We played Merc 2000 a lot. Cowboys from Hell. We like Pantera. And there, then you got that kind of, the tone of the album. Diamond Daryl's guitar tone changed to kind of fit the gravelly voice of Phil Anselmo. I'm not a musician like some of the others in this really kind of cool exercise we're doing on the Audio Dungeon Discord, the album of the week. There's some fantastic musical scholars on there that contribute. I just like the sound. So anyway, I like how Pantera sounded. Cowboys from Hell, Cemetery Gates, Power Ballad. The guitar solos and riffs were more complex, deeper in tone, I would say. And Anselmo, not as gravelly as he later became, was kind of more Rob Halford as opposed to Don Dokken that Terrence Lee kind of had. But I would say like power groove and groove metal, but it was heavy, right? It was heavy, and they toured, and I think they went to Moscow with AC/DC and Metallica in '91, and then Vulgar Display came out, and that to me is peak Pantera. um, Vulgar Display of Power, Mouthful War. Um, I think I still have a T-shirt, but it has like Unbroken. Yeah, they did a Planet Caravan. Yeah, that was Unbroken is from actually Far Beyond Driven, but it's just Vulgar Display. Really, those two albums, Vulgar Display and then Far Beyond Driven. That's to me is like a peak Pantera. Yeah, the overlooked album, The Great Southern Trendkills, a little darker, a lot of drug abuse theme is reoccurring in that one, and Anselmo's a lot of dubbing in that album. It makes Anselmo's voice sometimes sound demonic, truth be told. And there's a lot of side projects after that. They're reveling in their fame. And then at some point they parted ways with Anselmo, and officially Pantera was disbanded in 2003. The best of, and Anselmo they formed a new band called Damage Plan with Pat Lockman and Bob Zila. Rex had some health problems during that time, but then tragically on December 8th, 2004, less than a minute into the song of Damage Plan in Columbus, Ohio, a man came up and with a gun and shot Dimebag Darrell. Also killed a fan, Nathan Bray, and a club employee. And I believe Vinnie Paul was also injured in that. But a week after the shooting, sadly, ironically, Damage Plan and Pantera albums jumped sharply in sales. But it's unfortunate, but Pantera had a good run. They still, actually they're still going on. Sadly, Vinnie Paul died in 2018. But Brown and Anselmo made up. They reunited in 2023. And Zach Wilde and Charlie Benanti were added to fill in for Dimebag and Vinnie Paul. But then later they added some permanent musicians, Olga Eglund and Kyla Kent, and they're touring. Starting with the 90s, I would say Cowboy from Hell's kind of the groove metal they pioneered. Stark contrast to me from grunge of that time, and it had toned down the glam, and Cowboy from Hell's kind of bridge between the new and old style. And then they're part of the second wave, I would say, thrash metal, right? And though Phil Anselmo will, of course, argue that. But I think they kept metal alive. Long live the Abbott Brothers, wherever they're playing now. And hey, go listen to some Vulgar Display of Power. Put on that Mouth for War. Bang your head to it. And then walk with some respect. All right, this has been the Metal Minute. So raise your horns. Keep the faith. I'll talk to you soon. Well, haha, you may have thought I was done, but it turns out I'm not. Interestingly, as I kind of do this last segment here of the Geomologist Presents, episode 309, which I'm calling MetalliThulhu, listening to Pantera on YouTube kind of got me on this sort of musical journey via the YouTubes and in combination with Amazon Music that I have on my computer. So Pantera, listening to that, kind of lay it on the line, but a cover done by Gabriela Gunikova came up. So I listened to that, and that took me to listening to Heart, and I listened to the entirety of Little Queen. Barracuda is such a phenomenal song, and going back to like Keeping Crazy for You and all that. But then, of course, that took, well, I don't know, of course, but that took me to Nightwish on the algorithm on YouTube, and Ghost Love Score. Listen to that. That's one of my favorite songs. I listened to a couple covers of that, and Phantom of the Opera. That still Tarsha can really sing the crap out of it, which is pretty amazing. And then that kind of got me back to Triumph somehow and lay it on the line. And I listened to some other things that Gabby did, including Hocus Pocus and some covers of some White Snake songs, and even a cover that she did a long time ago of Toto's Hold the Line, which is phenomenal. That led me to Blue Oyster Cult and Astronomy, which is one of my favorite all-time songs. Interestingly, there are three kind of published versions of Astronomy. The original one from Secret Treaties, and then like 74, and then from their live album Some Enchanted Evening, circa 76, 78, between there. And then from Imaginos, which I think is a way later, I'm thinking like 2002. And that's a totally different version of Astronomy. My favorite is The Enchanted Evening because Buck Dharma's amazing guitar solo in it. And then that took me to Rush Subdivisions, uh, again a cover that I found. This kind of band that got together. Chuck Benatani from Anthrax got some buddies together, and they did a bunch of covers during the COVIDs. And then and somehow, I don't know why, well, maybe because it's one of my favorite songs by this group, it led me to Arch Enemy Ravenous, and that's how I ended my journey. I listened to that both when the original singer Angela sang it, and also the new singer Alyssa White Ghouls. So I think it's so pretty neat. Maybe not your cup of tea, but Arch Enemy, one of my favorite bands. I think I've seen them like at least 3 or 4 times. So pretty cool stuff. The last time I saw them, I think, was with Amon Amarth. What a show that was! And I think Beyond the Gates was also playing on that show. Great show. Anyway, so that is like my little YouTube metal and rock journey inspired by Pantera. And I think I will close out just to update you a bit on some of the games I've been playing, and how interesting it is sometimes when you have a side quest in a tangent. That was my experience last night, or a few nights ago, from this recording, a Thursday night in our regular group. When we play Warhammer Fantasy, we've been playing The Enemy Within. We're in the last book, and they're headed to Altorf in a mission for the Princess of Middenheim, Princess Katarina. And, well, you got to stop in the capital, and they've had some things happen in the capital during the course of the adventure. And, there's a lot of heavy role playing. There was a cool fight with some demons during the course of it, but it was kind of like a random encounters and side quests. And I just have a mechanic right now for random encounters in Warhammer Fantasy because of all the chaos that's going on. Occasionally, at some point, based on the GM's whim or because of a march or an encounter period, usually like a march, like during the day or when they stop for the night, I have one of the players roll a d10, and if it comes up 6, 7, 8, or 9, then the Chaos Gods have noticed, and something interesting happens. So, right, so 6 being Slanesh, 7 being Nurgle, 8 being Khorne, and 9 being Tzeentch, and I try to theme it based on the sort of purview of one of those those Chaos Gods. So it's pretty fun. So we had a really fun session with some action and intrigue and strange events, and a reminder of the political situation of the times that they're in, and had a good time with it. I was able to play the One Ring this morning as a recording, which is one of my favorite games right now. I really enjoy the One Ring. I have two fantastic players who play 2 characters each, and I just like that game. It flows so well. It's just very thematic, and the mechanics support those themes that you're expecting in a game set in Middle Earth, in Tolkien's world. So I really enjoyed that one. And during the week, we had a really cool session of Tales of the Valiant. So got my D&D in, and the other games I was a little disappointed did not make, but circumstances, and we'll get back to them. So I've had a good week of gaming. Fun time to wrap that up here with this podcast for the week, and on to the next week. So I guess I will do a reading or two the next time to try to catch up, and then go from there. But thank you all for listening. You can send me a line. I think it's really neat. Look how a call-in inspired more or less the whole episode. And thanks again, BJ, for that call. You can drop me a line or send me a message to geomologist@gmail.com, or you can leave me a message here on the SpeakPipe, though that is not as well monitored, truth be told. And the easiest way is to just send me a direct message with a voice message or a texted message, and I will read it here or play it on air. And well, you won't be famous, but it'll be cool, and we have like this kind of ongoing dialogue. So the intro and outro music is by our mysterious benefactor. The cover clip art, Amy did it, my wife, and one of my cool players who always is interested in playing a game. Hopefully she likes the rules. And then that's it. So good night, good rolling.
You like old school games, so why not talk about them in an old school way with the Anchorite APA? An APA is an amateur press association. Every 6 weeks, you send in a zine filled with whatever inspires you. Play reports, rules ideas, reviews, anything. We compile it with everyone else's into one awesome collection, and you get it delivered straight to you. Physical mail in the US, PDF elsewhere. It's more than a publication. It's a community. Be part of a tradition that's tangible, creative, and fun. Visit sites.google.com/view/Anchorite. The Anchorite APA. Your next great adventure starts here.